participating in this year's Purge a safe evening, and for those releasing the beast, a successful cleanse. Good luck.
This is not a test. This is your emergency broadcast system announcing the commencement of the annual Purge. Police, fire, and emergency medical services will be unavailable until tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. when the Purge concludes. Blessed be our new founding fathers and America, a nation reborn. May God be with you all.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices from the Mausoleum, and welcome to another and our final for the summer franchise live.
Yeah.
You know, blessed be the founding fathers. I'm just gonna.
It's gonna be a hell of a 12 hours.
The start of a long haul. Yeah, so to wrap up this summer's edition of Franchise Lives, we are ending on a franchise I have been dying to have an excuse to talk about on this channel forever, and that is The Purge. It's one of my favorite franchises. I will rewatch these movies a million times. I'm super excited to finally be talking about it. Our panel for tonight is no strangers. We have our fabulous Steve.
Oh, fabulous. Hello.
We got Doran Rad 89, and of course the wonderful Tasha from the Sinister Scoop. Everybody's links where you can find them in the description for this episode. We are short 2 friends tonight, but we are gonna purge on anyway. So we're gonna start same as we've been doing pretty much. We're gonna start with our rankings, and then we'll just kind of jump into a general discussion. We are not, for anybody wondering, including the show. Not a single one of us except Steve had seen it, so we just kind of not going to address the show. We're going to stick to the main movies.
Yeah.
I went first last time that I was on. Steve, do you want to do your rankings first, and then we'll go down and over?
Yeah, sure. I'll go bottom up.
All right.
Yeah. So we've got the first Purge, the Purge, election year, the Forever Purge, and my number one, Anarchy.
Ooh, that is surprising. That was very surprising.
Yeah.
A weird one? I don't know.
Yeah, that's very
reasons.
surprising.
Do you not
Do you want me
feel
to go
like
into
it's
my
weird?
reasons?
Maybe.
I kind of feel like I did something wrong.
Dude, mine is so no.
So I could do like a little brief because
Yeah, like a sentence on each one or why.
Yeah.
I feel like you have to. I feel like you owe us that. First of all, you put the first one as like your second from the bottom.
Yeah, because I think the other ones are just so good. So the first Purge I put as my last one. I enjoy it, but I think just overall, I don't have as much fun with this one as I do the others. I think it has some cool characters. I like that they brought in some actual history from like some actual crime from Staten Island, and they talk about the projects there. And I think the Smiley Gang was very creepy when they tried to actually initiate. People weren't doing it; they did it. But I think just from an overall fun element of it, I also love that it had Marissa Tomei, which is she's great. But overall, I don't think it was firing on all cylinders. Then I put the Purge. I think it was a good home invasion story, but I don't think it was just getting its feet wet. I don't think it fully realized the messaging, and I think it limited itself by only being in one suburb. It was like just getting it started. I don't think they were really like. I don't know. I don't think it was fully realized at that point. I think Lena Headey gave a great performance.
I think into the table. that scene lives rent free in my head. I think about that moment in that one like 60 times a day. Oh.
Yeah. But but I mean, I think overall, so I think with the other films, you start to see more realized messaging. With election year, I think Elizabeth Mitchell and Frank Grillo give a great performance. There's a hopeful message I like here. I love we get this completion of Dante's arc from the first movie.
Yes.
I think it's just really cool to see there. I think it's a step below Anarchy, I would say, in terms of how it takes advantage of like the flow. I think the flow isn't as great as Anarchy for me, but I really enjoy Election Year. The Forever Purge, I think it does the most with a small budget. It's a really grandiose movie, and when you know that it's such a small budget, it is so impressive when you watch it. I think there's great characters. I think the kills in this franchise got a little bit stale. So this time when they like it being in the daylight, there's like traps involved. There's great costuming in this one. The rabbits, the the rodeo folks.
The black mask,
yeah,
like,
the cowboy guy, yeah.
Thing is the best in this one.
Yeah.
And then it's not very subtle, but it's a very cathartic message. I think it really brings it home. In terms of the irony of like Americans fleeing to Mexico, and we know like the messaging in politics these past several years. It's been a crazy 10 years, so I think they really nail it. We don't need subtlety with these movies. They're not going to give us subtlety. We don't need it.
We don't need it. Yeah, I agree.
I think there's very like nuanced characters too, right? I think they do a great job at like highlighting subtle racism. It's sort of like the enabler.
I think we definitely have to circle back to that after we do rankings.
Yeah, because it's like you have like the folks who are like they have their racist tendencies, but they're not as bad. Or they take advantage of a system that supports them, right? So I think this does a great job at being a little more nuanced in terms of like we have main characters that maybe remind us of people in our own lives that we have to have hard conversations with. But anyway, I really enjoyed the Forever Purge. And I think I love the idea of unleashing the beast or unleashing an evil that you then can't control, which we've seen. This was on the heels of the insurrection. This was very much like a catharsis from that. And then my number one, Anarchy. I think it's the perfect blend of character and action. I think it's just exciting from beginning to end. I mean, you get that subtle ramp up. You follow Frank Grillo. I think his arc, wanting to get revenge for his son, is beautifully done. And sort of, I don't know. I just think it's like the perfect blend of like the horror and the action and the use of the set pieces. And I think it's a good use of the series themes. I think we see it's not too heavy-handed in some places. I mean, it's heavy-handed in some, but no, go ahead.
Hold on. What?
You didn't look at your messages?
No, I'm on camera, Joe.
I'm sorry. So here's the thing. All right. I don't want to like just... Wait. Why am I still hearing myself anyways? I did not see the last one, so I'll jump in. I can only go by 4. But I can jump in if you guys don't have me.
If you're sure. That's okay. You can give us your rankings on the ones you've seen if you want.
Wait, I know why it's echoing, because I have the YouTube channel open. And that's why it was echoing. All right. I'm like sitting here going like I could just see JR and Rick going, your audio is messed up. Your audio is messed up. All right. I apologize, guys.
No, you're fine. Okay.
Who keeps inviting Rob Humphrey to these things?
Well, I know the worst part is, and then I was like, I saw Tasha was here, and I'm like, oh God. Tasha's gonna go.
Y'all have like a weird history there.
Once again, Joe's supposed to be on here, and he doesn't show up when I'm on here. So I made it a mission.
But Joe, I'm drinking tonight.
Oh, of course. Well, and that's the other part. Angel, I just want to forewarn, you've recorded enough with me. Make sure you have full use of that mute button on me. Because I've been doing yard work. I have been doing, no, you don't understand. I have been doing yard work. Adam and I put up a privacy fence. So I'm not going to lie. I'm at least a 6-pack in right now.
Cool.
So, Angel, if you see Evil Dead Joe pop up, mute me.
Mute you.
Mute me. You have my okay. I will not get mad.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna.
Sorry, guys.
We have a couple comments really, really quick. Hi, Tara. Rob Humphreys says hello, everyone. He says
Hello.
the good news is I have not strong feelings about the franchise or what order they should be ranked in. That is good news for us because it's hard to keep up with the comments. I'm a delight.
Yeah. Sure.
Well, Joe, I'm glad you were able to make it. That's awesome.
And I felt I literally have been doing my yard work feeling so horribly bad.
I said it was okay,
I know, but that goes to show you that I care enough that I'm like sitting there and Adam's like, your whole thing changed. I'm like, there's this whole it's a mix up and I feel really bad. And yeah, so
well.
But yeah, and I looked up because I was gonna listen to you guys, and I'm like, wait, there's not 6 of them. There's 5. I can at least do 4 and have my buy on that. So then that's why I messaged you saying, I just got out of the shower. Let me put my contacts in and
I
get the
didn't
room
even
ready.
see it. I've been in StreamYard since like a couple minutes before, so it's really okay though. Well, I'm glad that you joined in anyway.
Well, hi guys.
Hi.
Okay. Well, so Tasha, we'll do your rankings next. What's your rankings?
Not the same as Steve's.
Shit, mine ain't the same as Steve's.
Neither is mine.
Oh crap! I closed it out. Hang on. Okay. So my 5th one is Anarchy. The 4th is the original. The 3rd is the first. Number 2 is Forever, and number 1 is Election Year.
Ooh.
Yes. No, it's great. I love that list. I mean, the only one that I think is crazy is Anarchy being that low, but otherwise, I'm pretty close to yours. I think otherwise, other than that one.
That's just hard because the other ones, like, I love them.
Yeah.
I hate them as much as I do.
Hate them.
So it's like it's not like it being a bad movie. It's just like
yeah. I think, and for me, I will tell you the truth. I don't dislike any of them. So even though we had to rank them for the sake of ranking them right, it's really that they're all about the same for me, honestly. I don't feel that any of them are weak. I think they all tell a very specific viewpoint of the stories, and I'm on board with all of that. So keeping that in mind when we get to mine, like, hi, Journey. I definitely love them all pretty much equally, genuinely. Like,
okay.
Really. Okay, we'll go to Norin next. We'll do Norin. Do you want to do your ranks?
Sure. Yeah. So for me, it's kind of like 3 of them I really like, and then 2 of them I feel are misfires. Like kind of where I don't think they're bad movies. I just think they weren't executed properly, and the message is either too heavy-handed or it gets lost. But it's very different from everybody else's ranking so far, which is kind of cool. So my number 5 is going to be Forever Purge, because I feel like that one was the one that's just very heavy-handed and very climate heavy for the specific time. And I don't think that movie's going to age very well. Like I could already see it now. Like when I watch it, I feel like, yeah, this is going to be the one that after you rewatch it over and over, it's just not going to be as good. My number 4 is the first Purge. I like the Marissa Tomei storyline stuff and all the government stuff and the conspiracy, all that, but everything on the ground level, everything to do with the people and the community, I don't like that storyline. I didn't like those characters. So that's why I feel like that one just wasn't executed properly. Now we're getting into the top 3, and all 3 of these are like almost interchangeable because I have a great time with all 3 of these top movies. So number 3 is going to be Election Year. I really like Election Year because I like Frank Grillo returning, the actions there again, for real. Like that's so good. And I like the dynamic between all our protagonist characters, like all the protagonists that meet, and I like the street level, like stuff like that, where they're on the ground, running around, trying to hide and stuff. It gives a very Judgment Night vibe. I don't know if anybody's seen Judgment Night with Emilio Estevez and Cuba Gooding Jr.
That's a great movie.
it gives me those kind of vibes when I watch that. So I like election year. And then number 2 is The Purge. I like home invasion movies. I love slasher and home invasion movies. And Ethan Hawke, this was kind of one of the first movies him coming back into the game. You know what I mean? Like Ethan Hawke was returning. You know, he was doing all these films again, and we were like, oh, what's going on? He's just diving into horror now. And so I like The Purge. That one was cool. Besides the kids' characters, they can still be kind of annoying when you watch it today.
Yeah, that's true.
And then my number 1 all time, probably like I said, strongest story. Like Steve said, I think this one has, for me, it's one of the strongest stories and the way it executes and ties everything together. And it has my favorite moment in the franchise when Frank Grillo's in the car and the mom and the daughter are telling him not to go in the house. And they're like begging him, you know, just crying, telling him not to go take revenge on this guy. Like that is probably my favorite scene in the entire franchise. So Purge Anarchy is my number 1.
Oh, what's up, Albert? Oh, hell yeah, all about Ethan Hawke. Ethan Hawke in horror. He was great in Daybreakers too. Like, I really like him in this world. And of course, Black Phone. Oh, so good.
Yeah.
And he was Sinister also.
Oh, and yeah, Sinister. Yeah. What? Yeah, love Ethan.
With the glasses, with the glasses and like staying late up night with his little whiskey, watching videos.
Lots of whiskey. He like realizes the bottle's empty. Yeah, that's so good.
That happens very easily with whiskey. It happens very easily, believe it or not.
Okay, we'll do Joe. You want to do your rankings next, and then I'll do mine last.
All right. So again, I did not see the 5th one, so I can't count that one in. So we're going with the 4. Okay. So
that's one, Joe.
I would put the first Purge on 4. The Purge Anarchy is 3. The Purge Election Year is 2. And I'm all about the OGs. I mean, I've never, I know everybody likes to, I am all about the OGs. The OGs should always be number 1 and everybody else under that. But everybody else has their own ideas and thoughts. But, you know, that's just how I am. But yeah, I mean, that was, because again, it's home invasion, you know, and I want to say this came out after The Strangers. So we were still in that home invasion movie, and this one upped it up a notch where we're living in a society that for one night everybody could try to kill you, and then lo and behold, all these people that you've invited to your house this whole year really fucking hate you and have been planning your murder the whole entire time. You know, they're like, this is a great wine. Oh, it's really expensive. I'm glad you spent this money on me. I'm gonna fucking kill you on the Purge night. You know, ooh, this is a great cut of meat. Like, you know, like these people actually partook throughout this time without giving them any inclination that they're going to come after them because they're jealous of them.
Yeah.
And that's why. And again, Ethan Hawke. I mean, he's part of my generation, and I've had a crush on Ethan for like years. So that's another part that would be number 1 for me.
Yeah. Well, cool.
He is a cute scream king. He's a very cute scream king, that's for sure.
He is a very cute scream king. He actually is. not as good as Justin Long. I would say Justin Long is number 1, and then Ethan Hawke is number 2.
I don't know. Kyle Dollar or anyone? I don't know.
Oh, I like Kyle Dollar.
Yes.
I would put
thank you.
Those would still be my 2, and then you got Kyle. There is actually one more though.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Okay. Well, I think of everybody mine's a mix of like these are really different. These are like the Halloween ones.
Yeah.
So my last, I'm going, y'all kill me with this. I know I'm in the minority here. I'm going from worst to
you like going best to worst.
Yeah. Well, I'm used to anyway. Okay, so that's okay. I've adjusted. Okay, so my 5th movie is The First. And I think Norrin was the one that was saying this. I think the government conspiracy side of like, we have to make it look like it's working. We have to do all this extra stuff. I think all of that worked really, really well. But I think that the actual deaths, the actual actions, the things that were going on when we actually got the street views, I think was super lacking. It wasn't like And this is, again, I like all of them, but this one I would say is the only one that is just alike. Whereas I love all of the other ones. I was very excited about this one because the way they promoted it, I thought it was going to be, I think, like a lot more action driven, a lot more like Anarchy, for example, or even like election year. So I was like super pumped. But then like it wasn't. And so I was kind of like, okay, well, I still really liked it. I liked being able to see where it started. Everything made sense given the rest of the story that we already had. So I was on board with all of that. My fourth one is the original Purge. And it's only because I do like the films that carried into the bigger world sense, where we get a lot of the street stuff, a lot of bigger situations, a lot of on the streets and in the middle of the chaos. That's like, I really, really liked that. But I love that movie. That movie has one of my literal favorite movies in a horror adjacent film ever, which is Lena Headey bashing that neighbor's face into the table. Like, if I were ever to be in a position where that would be like, if I was ever in a position where that could happen for me, that would be like that'd be the coolest I'd ever be in my life. Bam! She's like, we're not doing any more violence. And I'm like, ooh, you just broke her face. It's so good. And the sound, every time that scene happens, every rewatch, I am just as enthralled and obsessed with it as I am any other watch before that. And again, I'm also a super big fan of Home Invasion. I think it's super underutilized in the horror genre because it's terrifying. And pretty much what Joe is saying, I mean, you've got these people that you're like with during the day, and they're like, well, we had an opportunity to get in and kill you, so we took it. Like, it was like when the neighbors come in, you're just like, these motherfuckers. I thought that was so good. I loved it. And then my third is the Forever Purge. I actually got to see this one in theaters. It's the only one I saw in theaters. And there was nobody in it because this one made a lot of people mad because of the messaging, but I was there for the in your face messaging. Like, it was so good. Tacking on to what Steve said earlier, I love that he's like, it's not that I hate your people. I just think we need to be separated. It really broke down these people who say they're not racist, but they actually are racist. And they're like, well, I don't want you dead. I just don't want you anywhere near me. Like, that somehow justifies, the mentality. And it's crazy. And it's like, so I loved the breakdown of that, the connection of, his sister obviously having like a thing. You're going to hear dog zooms for a second. Sorry. It's okay. I don't know what happened. He got really, really excited and he's like running around. You may not even be able to hear him.
Was already in here, so.
I have a dog too, so, and the door's open.
Totally
you get
fine.
the zoomies, it's normal.
Yeah, we know.
But yeah, but I really loved it really took the overall concept and really broke it down into these very specific micro interactions that I thought really told the full picture of racism and what it looks like, and I just really loved that one. So that's my number 3. So my number 2 is Anarchy. I mean, I don't know what else you could really say about that one. I love the what's the guy's name? You said it earlier. The guy's name that's from the Purge. That's part of the rebellion stuff. What's his name? The military.
Dante.
Dante. Okay. I love that. Yeah. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. I love that we get this full circle picture with like his involvement when they show up at the end, when they're in that like that maze section. I think that's such a great.
Yeah, and they're hunting him down. That was cool.
Oh, and that white bitch sitting up there with her. Oh God. I was like, this woman's got to go. It was so good. I loved that one. And then my number 1 is Election Year. I think the thing that scares me the most about this franchise is how realistic that movie feels. That one in particular feels like that's our tomorrow if we don't do something about it. Like, it's so scary. And so, obviously at the start of the movie, you're thinking, okay, like, she's trying to survive the night. You already know that's not going to go according to plan because we still got like an hour and a half left or whatever. Right. So, but I love this version of Frank's very different in this than he is in Anarchy. And I'm going to be honest, Norin, I understand that scene is like so good where they're trying to tell him not to. I really wish he had. I really wish he had. Like, I don't have that level. I genuinely do not have that level of forgiveness. Same with the Saw movies. Kill them. If they kill your children, they got to go. They don't have a place on this earth.
Yeah.
Sorry, not sorry. So it was but it was cool to see this sort of softer side of Frank, because he's a little more, in tune, and he's a little calmer in this one. So he's very different than he is in Anarchy. But yeah, I love Election Year. That's my favorite one. It's my favorite one to rewatch, but it's the one that scares me the most, if I'm honest, because it just feels terrifyingly realistic.
Too real. Yeah, it feels too real almost. Yeah.
It's too real.
I love the characters in that one too. Like I said, Election Year has great dynamics between all the characters, and they work well together. Like all the actors, all the acting in these movies is really solid too. That's one thing that I can't really complain about, is a lot of the acting for all of these movies is pretty solid across the board.
No, it's so true. Rob said, Angel, don't remind any of us of your Halloween rankings.
He's gonna be really upset when I
go down that again.
mine.
Yeah. You know what? It is what it is. You said it's okay, Rob. You said you don't care about this franchise. It's totally fine. But yeah, so I want to, I don't know, like we'll kind of just open up the floor to just talk about this franchise in general. I know like so the siren thing didn't originate with the Purge, obviously, but I gotta say, of all the things to use in a movie like this, that sound makes my stomach drop every single time that I hear it. Like it's super, super effective. It's like, it feels, again, too real. Like when they're like, oh, and by the way, the people who make all the money, you can't hurt them. Only the poor people on the outside of the streets. Those are the people, that you can kill. But yeah, like, I don't know. Let's talk about like some favorite moments. Steve, you want to, I feel like, oh, you know what it is? You don't have your backlights on. I'm like, why are you so dark? It's because your lights.
Yeah. My green backlights are. I gotta like bump up my light.
I mean, no pressure. I just realized you feel like you're like. I
don't know. Maybe that's a little bit better. I don't know. Yeah, favorite moments, man. I was going through them, and I was just trying to think of like just like cool. I was focusing on like images, like things that like stick in my mind. Like I love a lot of the choreography in these movies. So there is I think it is in the first Purge where there's like a long like single take shots. That's a big thing in this franchise, and I love that they take full advantage of these. So when they're in the projects in Staten Island and they're kind of going like they're fighting through the stairwells, that's all like one take. When they're in I think when they're in New Mexico or Texas, I forget where they're and they're sort of fighting through, and like it just everything's going to shit in the town, things are blowing up, it's just like just full on chaos, and they're just following the characters around, and it's just one take. I think there's like one hidden cut in the whole thing. I'm like, man, the camera movements in these is so fun, and especially because like this is why I sort of like the bigger ones as opposed. I like the original Purge, but I think like it's just sort of it limits itself.
It does.
Like it was focused. It was focused where the other things were all open.
Yeah, and I like the scope. I think given the message that they were going with this franchise, I don't think the best delivery was like a privileged white family. In terms of the story messaging.
Oh, that's fair.
Maybe, because they're unrelatable.
You know what I mean?
Well, I know. But however, it also showed you that, because remember, only the poor people.
I think you're going to say what I was going to say.
The rich people thought they were untouchable, and here they are. They're rich also.
But also think like their downfall was showing a black man kindness.
Well, but it was only a downfall because the other villains were white.
Well, true.
Yeah.
So it's this big thing of like, this is what happens if you do this, and it goes against the general like populace, essentially white versus non-white. I mean, in this case, it is a black man, but I mean, obviously, and later in the franchise,
it just speaks into, because and again, if somebody shows up and asking for help, depending on the color and even gender, it depends on what you see on your camera, what you're going to help. And for the most part, people darker people are like they're like, I'm not gonna open the door. I don't know what you're gonna have some gang, gonna have something coming along with you. Whereas with any lighter tone, it's it's still going to be open. However, it still falls into, because there's been many movies where you've had a Caucasian victim knocking at the door and people still didn't open the door. And that just falls on human, nature and instinct of, if you help, you don't know if you're about to get killed. You don't know what you're about to get involved in, but yes, it was the downfall, but it kind of was the theme throughout the whole series too, though.
No, yeah. I mean, as far as like, I love the messaging, and I think the franchise sort of exemplifies it more in the later movies. Is I think,
and it does because you get a perspective outside of the privileged white family. I totally get what you're saying. I think that probably, my assumption would be, and I was not a part of the writing for this, but I feel like part of their maybe starting that way is because that was an easier doorway to go through to start a franchise like this. Because if they had given us the Forever Purge first, we would have never had another movie in this franchise.
And at the same time,
I think it's where the neighbors are a good plot point for me, because here they are living in their super affluent neighborhood with all these people that they wouldn't think twice about helping out if somebody showed up at their door. And here they are like showing up ready to kill you because, like she says at the beginning, like, oh, the neighborhood says we paid for the addition to your house. Like,
you just that deserved every second of that face bashing. She really should have done it twice.
I feel like one really like made that effective. Like,
that's the statement.
Clearly, I couldn't be in that situation. We'd just be there all day.
Like those things when you're a kid, the paddle with the ball that bounces off it.
Oh yeah, those I can never get those to work.
I'm not super violent usually, I promise. But like, I'm telling you though, I don't have places for people like that. Like I genuinely like those. And that's something else I think the franchise as a whole does, is gives us people that are just so easy to hate. Like you just are like, oh my God. Like I think it's in Anarchy, the neighbor that's like mad because she doesn't want to sleep with him. So he like busts in and he's like, you are so mean to me.
Oh yeah, that dude.
Like, grow up. Like,
oh, that's the landlord, right? Or like the
was it the maintenance guy or something? He worked in the building.
Or something.
Yeah, and he was trying to sleep with her. He was just hitting on her all the time. Yeah, and then like Purge night happened. He was like, "I'm taking my chance now."
Yeah, exactly. And you're just like they did such a good job of giving a variety of. Because I will say this, as a female, I do get tired of like that sort of like SA being like the main like oh, if the world is ending, or like that's always the easy go-to. And I'm not arguing that that's not what would happen, because it is, because that's just the world we live in. But I like that this franchise, that was only like a 10-minute moment, and they didn't overdo that side of what would happen in these situations. They really did a good job of giving you variations of what this would look like, from the snobby neighbors to a potential rapist to this what do they call the guy, daddy something or another, the guy in the truck with the
machine
with the giant machine gun. Yeah, that guy.
And then you've got like the rich people that are on like a board of rich people that have like a maze that they send. Like they really did the best that they, like, I think they could have done, given all of these different situations of all of the things that would happen if this were a real thing, which is one of the reasons I think it does feel so realistic, because it's like, those are all things that would 100% happen. Like 100%, no doubt in my mind.
That, and I feel like whether, I don't know what that dog's eating, but I'm going to find out in a second. I hear her clicking. Part of what is so good about the characters, like the ones you love or the ones you hate, is that you know somebody like that. Like you've seen somebody with that attitude. Like whether it's to that extent or not, you can watch this movie and like go to some gathering of people you know and be like, you'd be that motherfucker. Like you know somebody like that, and it just makes your skin crawl when you see these things happen. I love this franchise and also hate it so much because it makes me so mad.
Yes,
it feels so
it's emotional.
awful.
Yeah,
it is.
So yeah, it's one that stirs a lot of emotions for me. I'm gonna go see what my dog's choking on.
You're good,
But I
no
think,
worries.
as Tasha was saying, I think that's a good thing. As like she said, that's a lot of reasons why I think some people don't like this franchise, or they don't rewatch this franchise often, is because it does hit a little too close to home. But then again, it's like we have to have those kind of movies. That's why we have cinema, why we have art, why we have books, is because sometimes things need to be said or things need to
Yeah.
be shown to people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're not
It's not
trying,
new.
you know? Yeah.
It's not a new concept. I mean, Twilight Zone did it back in the 50s. They just weren't as explicit because of TV restrictions.
Rating or the
Yeah, that's
You
true. Yeah,
know,
that time
and
was very
like
strict.
sci-fi, horror, and fantasy are like the most guilty of having these messagings, you know. But
Yeah.
I think there's times where we can't be subtle, and I think we're in sort of one of those time periods where we can't be subtle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
now it speaks to yeah, we have to be a little bit more heavy-handed, like you said.
Yeah, I think the world is. I don't think a lot of people are ready for the nuance. I think some people need to hear it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think like
It's
I
funny to hear all
remember.
you guys say, because when I watch these movies, especially when they get into where it's the more poorer people, like that hits home, because I'm like, well, shit, if this fucking really happens, like I'm kind of fucked here. However,
Same.
they don't know whose house they're gonna walk in. Like they don't know the crazy psychotic motherfucker that lives in this house that has weapons hidden everywhere. I mean, like I literally have said this before. I think we talked about the movie You're Next, and Aaron, I want to be Aaron. I kid you not that I have things hidden in every room in case of a situation that happens. I can defend myself, and I can defend myself to the point that the person's not going to walk out alive from it. So, you know, that was like the whole thing. And I like that they changed directions, because would you have cared to see another affluent family going through?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
no, it wouldn't work.
Or if they show you, if they decide to go, you know, like, you know, middle class and, you know, just in the suburbs. Like, again, it just the change of direction actually helped the franchise. But starting with the first one, what it did kind of show you was that it's you know, everybody's allowed.
Yeah.
Even though you're rich,
nobody's off limits except
Nobody's
for
off
level
limits.
10, right? Like that's it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I think is one of the more subtle points, I think, throughout the rest of them, is that it doesn't matter like who you are. Like in these circumstances, like eventually, right? Like obviously the more rich people are protected, but then we get towards like when we get the group in Anarchy, like they're like, no, like we're here to take y'all out too, like that, but those are because obviously like that's a rebellion thing. That's really just to right the wrongs of what's happening. But I like that this went full circle in the sense of it was like, you know, the people who want this, who support it, like whether it's in, you know, Ethan Hawke's family, in his instance, he's just doing the security systems for it or whatever, but that's helping it advance, right? And so you think that you might be safe because you're in this specific position, but in reality, this is what happens when you ask for shit like this, when you want things like this. Like, I don't think that it's a weird thing. Like, I don't know. I really liked that it went full circle.
Yeah. Yeah, if you pay attention, like I said, there's a lot of themes in these movies.
That's what I like about election year too, is because, you know, even though they technically allow the other officials as, you know, open game, you know that they're going to be protected and everything, but just the fact that they put that out there is amazing.
Yeah, they're like, oh, because they're saying that this is the reality that we live in. Well, and because they go from, you know, the initial thing is, you know, Dante's thing, for example, is veterans, people who can't afford the whatever, or there's all these, like, it's very specific to the poor. But then as the franchise grows, it becomes other ethnicities, like it becomes this, like, which is realistic in terms of, again, if this was something that was real. Like, I don't think that, you know, like it may start out as like, yeah, like the poor, like we have, I don't know if y'all have this where y'all live, but in Atlanta, they do that shit where they put the things on the benches so homeless people can't sleep on them.
Oh yeah.
The arms. And it's like, or you could just fund projects and things that would make it easier for them or help them, because everybody wants to have this pretend mentality that like, oh, well, they're just a drug addict or an alcoholic. You have no idea what you're talking about. Literally no idea what you're talking about. And it just covers. And like, I don't know that these movies will ever not be relevant, honestly, like climate wise.
It hits on that.
No, we've been in like a 10-year where things have really escalated a little bit every year. So,
Yes. Oh,
yeah.
Listen,
and when you look in like history books, I think because what's great about movies is even if like they are a little irrelevant in the sense of like, you know, a movie about the Cold War isn't going to be as relevant today, right? But it still may be a good movie.
Yeah.
Right? So like they're markers of the time period. You know, and so you see a lot of sci-fi films where like, or horror films where like whatever the thing is that people are worried about, it reflects the movie or it reflects in the art of the times, right? So like the Cold War was like what it ended about in the 80s, right? So look at all look at who all the villains were in like the big action movies, right? It's like the
the Russians.
And then after 9/11, who were all the villains in the action movies?
Yeah, no, for sure.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So like it tends to, you know, it reflects the time.
It does. Yeah. And that's why I remember doing my review, my like quick couple-minute review on Forever Purge, because again, that was the only one I got to see in theaters. And I remember like specifically commenting on like how much hate that movie got because of the fact that it was so heavy-handed with the message. Like people were like some people don't want horror messaging, like, or messaging in their horror, right?
I say that all the time. And I don't, here's the thing, I don't mind it. Say like when they read the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre, was so inundated with messages all over it that it just killed the movie. So I'm all for it.
Fair.
But listen, George Romero is the king of having done that with all of his movies hit a certain thing during that time. And it wasn't in your face. You can put the message in there so long as it's not, but when it's in your face, you do kind of sit there, you're like, okay.
Does that make a bad movie if the acting is still good, if it's still shot well?
It does. It can be, it leaves a sour taste. It leaves a sour taste because you're there. Movies ultimately is escapism. And you're there we're all going to the theater. We paid a lot of money to sit in that seat to escape Bill's everyday life. And when you're watching a movie that it's stuff that you are reading every single day, you know, you're not escaping from it.
Well, I would argue that movies are art.
I think that
as a former film student, I have a little chip on my shoulder. Is I think the thing is with movies is because they're treated like consumer products, the lines are blurred. But when you think about the people getting behind the camera, they're artists. They're making something because they love to make it.
They are.
And so I think it's hard to sort of say like the gloves are coming off. Sorry, John. Because it's hard to say it's like, I'm going to judge the art you're making because I just want to enjoy it.
Is it coming for me right now?
I'm coming for you. It's hard, right? It's hard to judge it because that's all subjective, right?
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
My thing is, there's a lot of movies that still do it and do it where it's not so much in your face.
Sure.
The whole reason you're putting your movie out is because you're trying to deliver a message. And horror movies are basically, every horror movie has an underlying message of something, you know, mental disorder, you know, the life that you came from, you know, it's all hits on something. The underlying for most people is what they want because that is what they already live. So you don't want it. Again, I am not against it. I am just for it when it's so much in there.
When it's more subtle.
And I'm only using Texas Chainsaw Massacre on that one because that one, I looked forward to that one. And it was like, I'm watching it. And I'm like, Jesus effing Christ.
That one was a bit.
Can we
Well,
just kill somebody and chop them
I-
up? And, like,
I
I
think,
actually loved that one. That one was fun.
I think,
I mean, but the thing is, like, it was still a lot of social commentary.
Yeah.
And my social commentary, just do it the same way that the old school people have done it. Everybody, you have your new voice. It comes from something. George Romero delivered all of his without it being so much in your face in almost all of his zombie movies.
But remember, he had to because the MPA would only let him do so much.
I'm raising my hand because I feel like y'all will like keep countering each other. So my counter to this is that I think in a world where the people, the media covers, right, in general, it paints a very specific picture of this country and what that looks like. Okay. And so I think that the people who don't get their story told, who get, erased or neglected from the media because they focus on these other things. I think that seeing a messaging, especially even if it's over the top, like in Forever Purge, I think is extremely validating. But I also just have this like hardcore belief that if you have a platform, use it. This concept that like, there's people who use their platform and they push their agenda, but it's toxic and it's dangerous and it's hate and it's all these things. But then you get an opportunity to make a movie like The Forever Purge, where you're making your stand. You're saying, this is what this world looks like and it's not okay. And so for those types of things in this specific franchise, I think it works really well. I do agree that TCM was a little too much, but I also really just hated that movie. So that could be part of it. But it was just like too much of the millennial.
It's literally at this moment, because I'm literally winging this entire, like, joining you guys right now. I have 0 notes, so I'm like hoping for the best. That's why that movie.
That's
how I
I'm not.
feel, too.
I'm not really.
Well, no,
That's how I flow too.
Well, no.
But no, it's kind of funny that Joe brought that up because we disagree on TCM, but we kind of agree on Forever Purge. But Forever Purge, it's not the messaging that bothers me. It's more of that it's just there to put the characters in situations, just to have the situations, just to show you. And I don't feel like the Forever Purge has a very strong story. And the concept of having the Purge forever, it just kind of negates the excitement of the whole 12-hour thing. Like, I love the countdown thing. I love the whole 12-hour thing. And that is so, like you said, the siren, all that is really iconic. And when you do Forever Purge, it negates all of that now. And like, to be honest, it's like, where do we go from here?
But that's the
Well, it
scary
depends if it's the
part,
end or
though,
not.
right? Is that like if this happened in real life,
Yeah.
that's what would happen. You hand over chaos to people who that's all they want is destruction and hate and chaos, and that's 100%. Why would they stop? What is
Yeah,
the
it's like the
logic?
Joker, like they just want to watch the world burn at that point.
If there's enough people behind a movement like that, that's 100% what would they were like, well, what are you going to do against thousands of us? Nothing.
I mean, they tried to make it happen here. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Like, and
we literally
so
saw it
I'm
a few
telling
years
y'all,
ago.
that scene where the main character in Forever Purge goes outside and gets stuck on that trap that flips her, my heart was in my throat that entire scene, because she doesn't understand. She's like, no, like, you can't do this. And they're like, but we can, though. And then it's like, and then they defend themselves, and who ends up getting in trouble for it? They do. And it's just this, like, I don't know. I loved that. Like, to me, it opened up the discomfort for the rest of the story. Because I think these movies are these are more to me like suspense, thriller, kind of psychological, right? Yeah. Unless Joe says otherwise, and then I'm wrong because he's the professional.
It is not elevated horror. It is not elevated horror. It's not at all. I mean,
so I think, like, for me, that moment, because they showed the rabbit moment in the trailer. I think they showed it where it was like,
they did. No, they actually did.
You can't do this, and they're like, but we can. And it was just like, I don't know. That took that shit to like a whole nother level for me. I was like, I am scared.
Yeah, I feel like that kind of is the natural progression that something like that would take,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
you get these people who get a taste of it, and then suddenly they don't want to wait a year for this
No,
person
they're
who
like,
gets
why
off the
should we
line at the
have
grocery
to?
store.
Well, you've unlocked
Yeah,
something
like,
in people.
you know,
Yeah. And that's the
so
whole and that's the whole thing though, is basically is for everybody down below to take each other out. Therefore, it opens up for everybody above. They have enough food for them. It's basically you're eliminating people are eliminating each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if all of a sudden they go, wait, because I would honestly, if this would have happened, somebody showed up at the door, I'd be like, wait, I don't even know you. So do we really want to do this? Like, honestly,
You put me
I'm
off in
the one.
traffic.
I'm the one you
2
want to
weeks
come
ago.
after. Listen, I live close to a really, really rich neighborhood. So if we're gonna have to do this, if I can just not have you kill me, I will help you in this rich neighborhood. All right. That way I can get. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, if like honestly, think about it. If
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask all you guys, because I can admit, put in this situation, if you had to, obviously survival instincts come in. So
Yeah, if
Definitely,
it's near them, it's them. I got a child. I'm not playing.
Right, thank you. So let's work together here,
Yeah.
and let's not take each other out.
Joe's
there
the
is-
Dante of our timeline.
Yes, there is literally a rich neighborhood over there that
Let's
all
go kill
5
some
of us
people.
can go over there right now. We can share the wealth. I mean, come on. But do we have to take each other out? Because at the end, if we take each other out, only they are doing better.
That's
so yeah,
true.
no, in this situation, because again, none of us are as rich as any of these people. So we're all, if the purge ever fucking happened, we're all at the bottom here.
So true.
Can you imagine if they actually turned around and said, let's work together here? This is what they want. I mean, it's not going to be the horror movie, but think about it though. Then you get a bunch of people who band together and like fucking take down a bunch of rich people.
That's the rebellion.
fuck
That's
shit up.
Dante's group.
That's the
Yeah.
resistance. That's what I kind of
That's what
wanted.
we
I
do.
wanted more like a yeah.
My
I wanted more of like a class war thing.
Yeah. But I mean, the positive points in the movie is that I do love, like, because there are positive messages sort of throughout. I think at the core is like the human nature of it is we don't want to take each other out at the core. It's you because it's all a classism thing, right? They make this point in the first Purge, and they make this point in Anarchy and Election Year. It's like they see that people aren't doing it as much as they want them to. So then the government is the founding fathers are stepping in. So I think the positive message there is like it is human nature to stand together, right? And to fight the powers that are oppressing. And I think that that's sort of the beautiful message is it's not just highlighting the horrible stuff. I think it's also showing like the positive sides of these characters and of like humanity. And I think that's also a really just important part to highlight of the franchise too.
It's not just the negatives, like this is what would happen because it is, but also not everybody would be that way. There are going to be people that want better.
Yes.
And I love, and that's actually why I think one of the reasons that I love Election Year so much is because typically, especially living in the States, it's like you get to this place where like politicians just can't be trusted. It doesn't matter what side you fall on. You can't trust them to care at a level that we are all at, right? And so to have a politician to show you that even though it is extremely hard right now to get those politicians to be the ones in control because the old ones will not die out, it's like it's a reminder that there are still people even in those positions that do try, that are trying to make things better, but these are the basically the forces, right, that they're up against. They're up against all these people who don't want that, who don't want progress, who don't want all of these things. And so it's a much bigger fight than that. And I think that adds to some of the positivity, because then you're like, well, okay, maybe there's like somebody out there that like they want.
And she made such a good point there too. Like when she finds out about the assassination attempt, and she's like, if you do this, like me taking over is no better than any of what they've done. Like you have to let me actually win this, because otherwise, we are them. And I like, even though, obviously the goal is for all the lower classes to kind of take themselves out and just leave the rich people, eventually they would like be that
Cannibalize each other.
metaphorical snake that eats its own tail, because
Yes.
they would know they
Yeah.
can't trust each other either.
Yeah, it
So
would get to the point to cannibalize each other.
yeah, it would resolve absolutely nothing. And of course, we wouldn't be around to get the satisfaction of seeing that. So
No, not at all. Which is why we should band together if this were to happen. I'm just trying to say, like right now, everybody who is watching this live stream right now,
Joe
if
the
you decide
Psychologist
we're
2024.
going to have like a purge going on, don't give into that. Let's all work together and just, I mean, if we have to do this, and I'm gonna tell you right now, if we have to do this, like have to, I guess I'm gonna have to. I'm all for it. Like I'll jump in if I have to. But let's not.
You're for the purge. Is that what you just said? I just want to get that on record.
I would take out the rich people. I would go after the rich people. Is what I would do. Like I would not hit anybody like myself. I would not hit
anybody like myself.
Like nobody like again, like you live in the same neighborhood I do. Why am I gonna take you out? Like let's just I would like if it has to happen. But again, the purge is meant to it's so it's funny because after seeing a couple of them, it's kind of like, and I always get in trouble for this. I've been trying to say it right, so hopefully somebody will correct me if I say it wrong.
Okay.
The purge is Thanos is snap every year.
Thanos.
See,
I say it wrong. I've been sitting here for the last 10 minutes.
I'm
going,
so glad
don't
Steve
say
got
it
it because I
wrong.
had no idea what you were trying to say.
If JR
like,
I first heard it as one word, the Thanos snip, and I was like, "What is the Thanos snip?"
Listen, I can tell you right now, I'm sitting here like as I was like, okay, you're gonna sound stupid. I just say this, and JR and Rick have tried to correct you on this. So wait,
No.
Thanos, wait, Thanos. I'm not
Thanos.
Thanos. So it's not Thanos. Okay, whatever.
I don't know.
So the
purge
purge is Thanos' snap every year because, like, his thought process was basically you call everybody because things are not available, and which is kind of what the purge is all about. You're calling society because there's not a lot of shit left over. We're not going to get into space anytime soon. Obviously, all the movies that we saw the last couple years that told us that we're going to be in fucking space were wrong. So we're still stuck on this planet. Am I wrong on that? Like, literally, we've seen enough movies that have said we're going to be in space right now.
Yeah, Blade Runner. Blade Runner is a perfect example of one that's we would be in, like, living on other planets by now, probably.
No, it's not happening. So it's what we have left over, and Thanos is right. Did I say it right that time?
No, but it's okay.
You're closer.
Thanos, whatever his name is. Infinity Gauntlet. The snap is like the purge is the snap every year to purge the cult society, so that way we have enough resources left over because there's too many people left in the world.
But the funny thing is, all the resources are up top, and they don't want to bring them down.
No, that's the whole point. So what I'm saying is, if this happens, we got to work together because we got to get that shit.
Eat the rich.
Pass around.
And that's what I like so much about the first purge, because they're sitting there and they're like irritated AF because people are out like having parties and stuff. Like they're having parties, like they wanted like blood in the streets, and it wasn't until they encouraged it that it even happened. So I feel like had they not pulled the strings they did, and it shows a lot of like what an influence media is, because we only see what they want us to see. So sorry, FBI guy that's listening to this, probably.
No, it's
CIA,
it's
NSA.
It's actually it's truly that is like truly true. Like I canceled a vacation because the news was reporting this woman who was like saying the hurricane's really bad blah blah blah. I'm like, all right, so we're going to Fort Lauderdale, and it turns out that the girl was really hot, so they had one of those big fans on her, and everybody in Key West complained that this is the reporter that everybody had, and her wind was blowing, her hair was blowing everywhere. Picture wise, media wise, it looked like a bad hurricane. No,
What?
she had a huge fan on her that was blowing shit. Oh yeah, so like I'm saying, media, which is what plays into the movie, how the media plays things and how it does in real life.
It's like a bunch of puppets.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the first Purge was the one, right, when they give them the contacts to broadcast the stuff, right, and everything and all that. Yeah.
And they're like, oh, look, we've had the first kill for the night, and it's got 20 million views already.
I think that one plays into a lot more of what Steve was talking about, where it goes to show that, like, we don't really care about that, like, overall, because nobody wanted to do that. It took.
They're like, sit at home.
They, like, remember, because they bring in people from other places, and, like, the whole thing is, like, it's really just, like, I feel, I don't know. I know, like, some people think these movies are, like, far-fetched, but I gotta be honest with you, I don't think they are. I feel like
they're not. It's a scary possible
It
reality.
is.
And nobody understands that. Like, horror movies are things that can fucking really happen.
Yes.
And the Purge is something that can truly, truly be instilled by our government, by either side, because I'm not going to say it's going to come from one side, because you never know that the other, again, it's still something that the government can instill. And this is like one of those where every government along the world can go, we have too many people right now and not enough resources. We need to do the Purge.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because I think that, like, I am not somebody that gives human beings the benefit of the doubt. I sort of just assume we're all awful. And generally speaking, of course, current panel not included, right? But you know, like, I'm super untrusting. Like, you know how, like, there's like that whole, like, the States has, like, a really bad trafficking problem that we keep pretending isn't an issue, but it's a huge issue. Like, I'm not joking. I have no trust for human beings. Like, I was out one time, like, this has been a while ago now, but, like, my son was in a cart with me and we were going back to the car from, like, I don't know, Target or somewhere probably. And I heard someone say, "Hey, excuse me." And I was like, "Fuck that." Like, I literally had, like, the edge of my cart, and I was, like, throwing my son into the car. I was like, "You ain't getting my son." I was like,
but that's kind of sad that you live. It's kind of sad that you live in a world where that's exactly where your brain goes to.
We live in a cul-de-sac, and so, like, we pulled up earlier after going to meet people to sell something, and so, like, we pulled up, not drugs, and we pulled up, and there was, like, somebody sitting near our driveway, and I, like, wouldn't let my son get out of the car until one of us was next. I don't fucking trust anybody, especially as a woman. You can knock on my door if you want to, but you know what I'm not doing? Opening it. Like, I don't trust anybody. And it's because I feel like in general, people just aren't good. I feel like when people are put in circumstances where there's no consequences, that's actually one of the reasons, total side note, that I love zombie stuff, because they really dive into some of that stuff of, like, what are you going to do in a post-apocalyptic situation? Like, there's no consequences. And the truth is, a vast majority of us would hurt other people, and not just for survival, but for fun and because we can. And, like, I'm not that person. I know I'm not. Now, don't get me wrong. I grew up in a rough side of town. I know how to take care of my own, but, like, I'm not somebody that's going to actively seek out violence. I know it may sound like that sometimes, but I'm not. And so these touches on that stuff, like, I don't know, it just feels super realistic to me.
Cool. I'm hanging out with you because you would be the Carol of our group.
Carol.
She totally would turn into Carol.
Hell yeah.
From The Walking Dead?
Yes.
Carol.
Yeah, with everything you're saying right now, by the end of this,
eventually
you would be.
Not in the beginning.
Eventually.
I'm not starting out no apocalypse,
right.
no
Carol
abusive.
did not in the beginning, and eventually she became one of the, like, because you still kept your morality throughout the whole, and that's still, you know, like, that's
still there.
Even with the Purge series, is some characters kept their morality, others did not.
Yeah,
you know?
No, it's true.
And it falls into where you're going to basically there's this side and there's this side and then there's the middle. I can say I would be the middle.
That's true.
I would not go on either side. I am a pacifist, but if you're gonna try to kick my ass,
I'm not a pacifist.
You're gonna get fucked up. I mean, like,
Yeah.
let's try to work this out before I have to actually fucking kill you. And if I'm gonna kill you, it's not gonna be pretty for you. So let's just try to work this out.
I'm gonna have to delete this live so none of us get arrested.
I know, and if well,
a lot of incriminating evidence. Should something happen?
We're talking about if the purge happens. So
no,
hyperboles. No,
we need it like in context. All
I'll be
theoretical
right
if the purge were to be real.
Yeah,
right.
it's like
That makes me think too, like one of my favorite characters, I think, out of all of them is from Election Year, and it's Lainey, the one that like had the reputation of being Little Death, and now she's like riding around in the EMS vehicle.
I love that character. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So good. Like she is out there, you know, she's obviously had her days and
When
done
she-
some things.
Girl.
And then when she runs over those girls that are about to bust into that deli, I was like,
I'm this franchise.
I just feel like legally I needed to.
Yeah, you're like, as a therapist.
Steve's got our back. Steve's got our back. He knows.
Yeah. I will tell you, Tasha, though, you bring that up, though. That's such a good point because I will tell you, as a franchise as a whole, I cheer during these movies. I'm super like audible when I'm watching these. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, oh bitch! Like I get it's so into these when I'm watching them, and that scene happened. I was like, fuck you! Like I was so. That little girl with her, I want my candy bar. That weird girl that's like,
yes.
I was like,
And they have like the gold guns, like the gold AK guns and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yes, they were like what bedazzled or some shit. Oh, so good.
And they were in like
I
the
love
Christmas.
it.
Oh, yeah.
car.
I did like the cars. I'm not gonna lie. That was kind of cool.
Oh, we should ask too. There's a lot of good masks in this franchise too. Just in terms of costumes, there's a lot of good costume
Yes.
designs and everything too.
It's
Yes.
so good. I love the neon masks. Those are my favorites. All of them.
Yeah.
Those are your favorites. I like the more
one-
simple ones that just have like the writing on them and stuff like that. Like
Oh,
the
the
kid
one
that's
that
on the
said-
skateboard and it just like goes like that.
And it says God, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh man, when that couple goes to get in their car, I was like, oh no, y'all are so effed. And then like when they have like that back and forth with them, he's like, he basically tells them, he's like, it's nothing personal. I just need money, and this is how I do that. And it's just like,
Because they're like
Yes,
wranglers, right? They just capture people. They don't do anything else but catch
Yeah,
people,
they
right? That was his
to
thing.
that. Yeah, exactly. They just take him to the thing. And I was just like his mask, that's the one I think that says his mask says God on it. Because he's the decision maker.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, them cut their brakes, cut their whatever it was that they cut. Was it the brakes? Something. It was something. Gas. Maybe it was the gas.
And I
They
think
cut
that it's
something.
gas, yeah, because they're driving and then eventually
And
I
then
think they
just
run out
kind
of gas and
pulse
then
out.
yeah.
Going through, I should have had a little collage of them. I mean, I do love the simplistic ones of the original. Just
See,
sort
that's
of,
two strangers for me. That was two
Yeah.
strangers.
but I like
And I think of your next. So,
the first.
those are
Purge was
animals.
The
but the simplicity though.
Mm.
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
first Purge when they were. It was like I think it was like the group of Nazis. It was like the simple one where it was just like the black. It reminded me almost of like, not Darkman.
While
My
he's
gosh,
thinking,
what's the
I
one?
always thought when you saw all the masks, it always reminded me of it's a random movie. It's not even horror. The Warriors.
Oh,
Yeah. Warriors is good.
I
It's a good
see
movie.
that. I see
Ooh,
that. Yeah.
Yeah, because all the different groups had their own looks. So
Yeah.
after a while, the Warriors
Yeah.
was another one.
Yeah,
that
and a
was
lot of these
about-
films take place on street level ground, so there's probably a lot of
Similar.
homage
Like,
vibes to
no,
Warriors.
I always thought about, especially with the series, once we got into the street level, I thought about the Warriors. I thought about because it
see
still
that,
involved. It still involved, individuals trying to get through. That's
That's
what
true.
the Warriors was about, and it was dealing with
Yeah.
different masked individuals of different groups. So,
Yeah.
and which it like, if anything, it's a great homage that they did, and probably
Yeah.
one so low key that it's probably worth in your live stream is probably one of the first times it might have been said that the Purge
Comparing
is
the two things.
an homage to the Warriors.
Mhm.
What about
Yeah.
Three Ninjas? Their masks
Stop
really
it.
good.
Tum Tum. You like some Tum Tum and
Rocky
cold.
Look.
I love this movie so much when I was a kid.
It's so cute. I think, the only one that I thought was kind of wasted because I did think it was super cool was the black skull mask for the cowboy guy. Like I thought based on the trailer that he was going to be like the main bad guy. Like I thought he was going to be it. They focused
Yeah,
in on
they
the
spoiled that a
cowboy
little
hat
bit.
and the mask, and then it was like, then he was dead. It was like moving on to the next thing, But his mask was one of my favorites. As much as I like the neons, I did like just the solid black with a little bit of the outline for like the skull portion of it. I thought that was really cool.
I got a kick out of, like, again, throwing it to election. When they have everybody coming in from overseas to participate, and they're attacked by the group of Russians, and the
That wear the
Russians are
lip-
all like red,
Oh,
white, and
yeah.
blue to the nines. Like that cracked me up that they were the most patriotic looking ones out
Right,
there.
right,
All
right.
So
the people were like,
ridiculous.
American
Yeah.
culture.
Or they were trying to make the Americans look like the ones that did all that instead of the Russians.
Oh, that's true too.
Oh, maybe.
I thought the same thing though, Tasha. Yeah, that's a good shout.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's like when you go to New York City and you see somebody wearing an I Heart New York shirt, you know they're not from New York City.
From New York.
Yes.
No, we don't actually love it here.
When I go into the city, will get myself one of those fucking shirts and I will put it on to represent New York City. I'm from
Sorta.
Connecticut. I grew up in Connecticut. My family's from New York. But when I go into New York, I will get one of those fucking
Oh
shirts
my
and put it
God.
on because
You
know
would.
well, yeah,
Listen.
it's easy that way.
I'm from New York, upstate, but I wouldn't do it.
Wait, how far upstate?
Rochester.
Do you know where Hopewell Junction is?
Shut up. How do you know?
That's where Adam is from.
Ah.
No
Nice.
way.
That is hearing that name of that town, and I make fun of it all the time because when we were driving up, I'm highly disappointed. He's like, why? Because I was expecting the mailman from all those like cartoon stuff that we grew up on to jump out and go, "Welcome to Hopewell Junction," because the name of the town. But yeah, that's so she knows
Wait,
where
never
where
mind.
Hopewell.
That's not what I was thinking of. There's another place that sounds like that that's up near where my dad is. I'm like up like towards Buffalo. Way.
Buffalo.
Huh.
The actual upstate.
No. I've been to New York one time, and I've like never been so ready to come back home in my life. It's such a different world from the South. I was like, I can't do this. Like, I'm ready to go.
I love the hustle and bustle of it.
Mm-mm. Well,
Steven's like, no.
Steven's like,
Steven's like, no.
He's like, that's why I work from home and I stay home.
No, I just got super distracted because so Comic-Con's happening right now, and like there was a big like Avengers announcement, so it's just sort of like,
what are you doing right now, Steve?
I just
Focus.
he's not, I know,
He's multitasking.
my phone buzzed and I saw
Steve.
the Galactus thing was pretty fucking cool. With
the drones. Yeah.
Ah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So at least now they kind of let you know that Galactus is going to be part of Fantastic Four.
well, yeah,
As long as he's not a fucking cloud, I'll be all right with
we're
it.
derailing the Purge, but I'll
Sorry. Sorry.
but they just announced
That's
Robert
what
Downey
you get
Jr.
for
is coming
looking
back.
at Comic-Con right now and commenting on it.
What about any final notes on where you guys think the Purge can go from here if they do another one?
I think a
there is another one
retaking of
coming out.
America would be interesting. Like
Yeah.
almost like a Civil War. I mean, I know we just had like an A24 movie like that, but
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think I think it would be a war movie. But it would be interesting to like a war movie, but as a horror movie would be really cool. We don't get a lot of that.
I would be
feel
scared
like
to see where they could go because I feel like there's so much that they can pull from right now
yeah.
that it's like, oh, I'm
Well,
just gonna go live under a rock.
Yeah, we're in dangerous territory.
The new one coming out is going to be written and directed by James DeMarco.
From the first one.
Who did the
Yeah, I
first
think he
three.
did he did the first
yeah.
three.
Oh yeah, all three of them. So he's going to be doing the next one. But that's why
there
I
is
thought there
another
was six. Yeah, no, there's a new one coming out.
It's
Yeah.
pre-production.
Yeah.
It's pre-production though, right? It hasn't started filming.
It still has not.
It's just in discussions. It's not. Yeah, it's
But
not like
it's
they haven't
another one
started
of those.
filming
Give it
yet.
time. It's the same thing like with Final Destination. But we talked about it.
I'm not worried
It's
about
like
it.
all these are they're going to continue on. Like this is one of those that so long as you can somehow revitalize it and give it a fresh idea, you can still continue them
Could do a
on.
lot.
Just keep the kills fresh.
Yeah.
Is one
That's
thing.
the thing. This movie's not really about the kills, though. You know,
Here's where my thought is, and I've been thinking this pretty much since I left the Purge, the Forever Purge in theaters, is I really would like to see a take on this where all these like don't say the actual name of what they are, Angel. Think of a different name. Of what these like Go America boys are like. I feel like I would like to see a version of this where they realize that these people that they idolize, this society that they think they want, is going to turn on them. And that guess who's going to be next? Because now it's now not about just getting rid of people who are Hispanic or people from Mexico or Black people or veterans or poor people or women or, you know, anyone who's exist in the gay community. Like it becomes this reality of you are in the same fucking boat and you don't even realize it. That's an angle I would love to see. All these like gung ho, Forever Purge boys and getting together, and then their people turning on them, and then realizing that they're in the exact same boat as the people they pretended that they were that they were hunting.
Yeah, sort of like the final. Because I think Frank Grillo's back.
He's supposed to be
back.
Snap.
Oh, snap. That's cool.
So much. I really
think
hope
it's supposed
that's
to sort of
what
be a final capstone.
Yeah.
Like I think he said
it probably will have something to do with the Resistance. I think they're going to bring the Resistance back. They have to do that again somehow.
It'll be the big,
with her, I can't remember what her name is in the movie, Charlie. With her actually winning the presidency in there, like they would have to make it some kind of like much larger scale clash because that was one of the things she was going to do is get rid of it. Like that was her first thing. So it would have to be something in response to that, wouldn't it?
Don't they
Forever
address
Purge took place after they
address that in the Forever Purge where it basically says that says she couldn't do anything and they moved on from it and they were able to still instate or keep it reinstated. Yes, that's what I would love to see. I would love to see them spin it on these people who think this is what they want, and then this reality of like you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Yeah,
they don't like you either, motherfucker.
Yeah, you are literally not on the side of it that you think you're on. You're literally like not, and so I think
you're just a pawn in the whole entire thing.
Yes, I would.
I know what you're saying. I literally know what you're saying. I know. I know. Because it would fit into a social message for those people to understand themselves that they're in this. I know what you're saying. Gotcha.
They touched on it.
Do they know what they're saying? Do they know?
If you remember, because it was like the ranch owners, then it was like the lower class white ranch workers, and then the immigrants.
Yes.
And so it was the lower class white ranch workers that turned on the immigrants and then turned on the ranch owners.
And then it just kind of
touched on it a little bit, but I like what you're saying, Angel. I want more of that. I think you could blow that up.
It's them to realize themselves that they're just as much on the lower bottom.
Because I think that's how you go back.
Norm, did you get to say? I want to hear what you would like to see with this franchise.
Me? I think what Steve was saying, I think now if you're going to do the next one, especially if you're bringing Frank Grillo back, I think it has to be escalated in some fashion. And I would love a more, like you said, probably like a Civil War-ish type, like whole thing that involves
Yeah.
probably like the whole North American area, like something that's very high stakes kind of thing. Like
It would have
basically,
to
I
be.
think you have to go that way.
Yep. I agree with that. No, I totally agree with that.
I would love it shot almost like Apocalypse Now. You know, like I would love like
Nice.
a really creepy like war movie, but
Yeah.
like use American imagery to really drive the message home. Like we're not fighting in some other land. Like
It's
this is what happened to this country because of this is where we went. You know,
yeah.
Yeah, have
that
like
would be
monuments broken down and like people built armories or things around the monuments, but then like have the monument like half crumbled and destroyed and
yeah.
everything. Like, yeah, you can. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do.
Did y'all notice that the Forever Purge was done in the same ratios as Westerns?
That makes sense.
So film, you know,
Okay.
for people who may be watching who don't know this, the ratio that they specifically choose for different genres of films are chosen because of the effect they have on the viewer. And so the reason, like I looked into this because it's something I've never paid attention to, but I am obviously not like obviously the way something is filmed affects how it makes you feel. That's what makes things effective and non-effective. But like filming this, the ratios that they did, so it's basically it's longer instead of wide. And so it like affected the way that you viewed things. And I'm wondering like if they
it's a
whatever they
broad-
do with the next one, huh?
It's a broad view.
Yeah, it's so, and it has to do with the way that it impacts what you're paying attention to and how you feel when you're watching it. And I would be curious to see if they do it in like a war type situation. I think they should keep that longer ratio to give you the broader perspective of like what's happening and all of the chaos that's going to ensue around it. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah.
I didn't see it yet. However, it does sound a little bit like we're talking about Alex Garland's Civil War.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
I didn't see it yet. I just want to say from the couple things that I do know as we're talking, I'm like, well, it kind of sounds like Civil War a little bit.
It's different though. It's from the perspective of photojournalists. So you're not getting battle.
But when you were describing, so yes, I guess it would be a good thing to see. However, as we were talking about it, I'm like, well, it kind of sounds like we're talking about Civil War right now. But yes, you're right. You have it from a different perspective. Whereas seeing the Civil War from the people who are fighting the Civil War would be a whole other perspective on that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
yeah. That was a good thought, Norin. You can tell you've done this before.
Thank you.
You got me on a single focus thought. So
no, it's good. I don't mind when people take over unless they're, Joe.
I was getting ready. I literally like looked over like. And Ricky does the same thing.
He does. I was just about to say my favorite one is when we did Nightmare on Elm Street as a franchise live last summer, and Rick was on. It was me, Rick, Lexi, and JR, I think. And Rick was like, "Well, everybody give their final thoughts. What's your?" And I'm like, Rick.
He says it to me all the time. He literally, yeah, because like I'm moderator for the show, and he'll start talking. I'm like, bro, like it's me. Like it's calm down.
It's okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. And
you guys,
you're like trying to check him. You're like visually checking him. You're like, come on.
So it's the strong personality, and Angel has recorded enough with me now.
Yeah.
That Angel can probably vouch for. About 2 years ago, it would have been a different Joe sitting here trying to talk.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Well,
it's learning that if you're a strong, like, shut up sometimes.
Well, you guys everybody on this panel and then some other people who aren't here are kind of look at as like sibling channels and stuff because it's just something where like we've worked with you guys enough that there's a trust there. It doesn't actually get on my nerves, but I cannot ignore the opportunity to call you out on it. You know what I mean? Like it's very like it's a sibling relationship,
I'm the oldest out of all of them, so I have that. Like I'm literally the oldest sibling. Like
he's always drilling that home.
Oh my God,
he's like, just so y'all know, you're younger than me.
You're still bitter about that, Joe.
I know,
even with them, meaning like I have that dynamic that being the oldest brother with JR and all them, that it's like always trying to be in control, and then like just fighting with the younger ones. It's just it's ingrained in me. It's how I grew up. It's not that I'm old. I don't want to call that I'm old. I hate that I'm calling
Radar does the opposite. Radar likes to point out that he's much younger than me. Like, we did an episode in Conspiracies where we talked about Y2K, and he was like, an Angel, you probably remember that. And I'm like, God damn it, Radar. We don't have to say
Radar.
I don't want to pull a Rick on you, but have you guys checked the comments? Because we have talked like for a little while.
Yeah, we're good.
Oh, they died down.
Okay.
Oh, maybe run through. That's true.
Right.
That's another thing.
I know. And I'm like sitting going like, all right.
We're professionals. Steve and I got this shit on lock. We know we're good. Sometimes we hit the same one and then it goes away really fast.
Yeah. And we're like, oops, sorry.
I just got distracted wondering what it would have been like to record with Joe a couple of years ago, like if he had shown up for stuff.
Oh, well, no. So, and I'll be honest with you because there was a little miscommunication for tonight. And so I had messaged Rick and I'm like, so here's the problem. I'm putting together a fence today and I've been drinking. I'm just worried that Evil Dead Joe is going to show up. And he's like, no, you got to represent us. I'm like, I know, but I didn't watch all the movies either. And then I looked it up. And like, again, it's trust me that Tasha, Angel stuck it out when we were going against each other. So I give her mad props that she came back. She could have easily been like, I'm not fucking recording with these people. That guy's an asshole. Like the other two are really nice, but that one guy, Joe, is an asshole. But we had fun. And then after a while, we're like,
no, it's a state.
We started agreeing with each other, and we're like, ew.
Nobody here agree. Even Steve, as like laid back as he is, he and I do not agree on all things. And the thing is, like, I feel like we both are trying. I think everybody here at least, like, is trying to promote this concept that like you cannot agree and you can even argue, but it's still in a respectful understanding that like, you know what I mean? Like, but I'm telling y'all, you can't find that everywhere. It is not like that everywhere. So that's super important. Like, we can disagree. Like, when I'm telling y'all, when I went back through that Halloween live, I was dying laughing at just like the constant bickering and the like facial expressions and the, oh my God, like the stuff that was going on. It was so funny. It's one of the funniest things, like, to go back and watch, but it comes from a place where we could all do that and still walk away and want to do content together again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I said, you and I have started agreeing so much more. I kind of miss not agreeing with
you want
each
to fight
other
more?
Yeah, I kind of miss. Well, no, because now it turns out that actually Angel and I agree on the same thing, and then we're recording with Rick and JR, and then it's like me and Angel versus Rick and JR. And then they're staying going like, wait, are those two getting along right now?
There's the next Purge.
Oh, Joe, you weren't here. I have to cover you legally.
Oh, yes.
So your face is on while that's okay. You're good. Okay.
Well, anyway, we can wind down. I just I was excited to talk about this franchise. I love these movies. Like, I really like, as long as they make them, I'll watch them if I'm honest. Like, I'm super.
And I also, without jumping on, I also would like to say that they do make strong female characters as well.
That's probably a big part of it.
Yeah, it is a huge part of it. Like, it relies on the guys, but the women have always been some of these stronger characters.
You're right. No, you're right.
You know, I mean,
mom,
listen,
I'm just
at the end of the day, you need to have a woman next to you, because she's literally the one that's going to convince you and tell you, no, you're actually wrong at this point. However, fuck
you're
them
being
up this
stupid.
way.
Listen.
Fuck them up this way. Do it this way, and we're gonna be good. So, you know.
Yeah, they'll ring it in. They'll be like, "Oh,
oh yeah, they'll bring it in. Like don't go all crazy. Like, do it this way." So yeah, no, the Purge has always had strong female characters in it, starting with Lena Headey.
Tis okay. Yeah, no, that's a good point. Well, cool. I'm gonna wrap us up, I guess. Once again, everybody's links, including Joe, even though he's a little late, but That's better than not at all.
And
So we're
Baloo.
glad that you came. They're in the description for this episode. Go follow Tasha at the Sinister Scoop. Go see all the wonderful things they're doing over there. Go follow Joe on Horror Fiend TV. Go follow Norrin Rad 89. And you should already be following Steve. Otherwise, I'm like confused.
If not, like, you're in trouble.
That's right. You're on the purge list. If you're not
Shit, let me go double check now.
Is that an Angel, right? Okay, that's not on me, right?
Anyway, well, once again, thank you everybody that came and showed up for this panel. This was a fun conversation. Everybody in the comments that showed up, thank you so much. And yeah, you know, here's to hoping this isn't our future. We hope you guys have a good rest of your, what is today, Saturday weekend, a good week coming up.
Yep.
And Steve, who's hitting the button?
I'll do it.
Okay. And we will see you
He's
in
got
the
the button.
next one. Bye.
Peace out.